All right. Hare Krishna, everyone. Welcome. Welcome to the seminar for Gitar Gan. This book that you're holding in your hand, this book is called Gitar Gan, and this was first published in 1973. And this is still widely popular throughout Bengal and Bangladesh. This book in your hands presents Gitar Gan fully translated in English for the first time. The devotee who translated this is here with us, His Grace Kalakantha Pr. And I'll just introduce him and then we'll dive deep into Gitar Gan seminar. Kalakantha Pr, he started his journey from a book called Sri Ishopanishad. In 1973, Srila Prabhupada initiated him as his disciple. He has served as a brahmachari for 10 years, and he opened a college preaching center in Newark. He served as temple president in few ISKCON temples, and he also served as a consultant. He served as an editor of Back to Godhead magazine. He was also the secretary of ISKCON GBC Commission. For the past 12 years, he has developed a Krishna House project in Gainesville, and we are also part of it. He has authored so many books: A God Who Dances, The Song Divine, Rap of God, Endangered Species, which is on ashram development, and Gitar Gan. He has written manuals for fund development and dispute resolution. He has served as elected councilman in Florida. He has volunteered as a mediator in Florida state court system. He married Mother Jita Amrita in 1982. He has 3 children and 2 grandchildren. Since 1992, he supported his family through a part-time real estate business. He enjoys writing, music, and hiking. So welcome, Kalakantha Pr.
Hare Krishna. That's called too much information. Thank you.
Forgot to mention one more thing. At the end of the seminar, at the end of this seminar, you're most welcome to come and get your book signed and pay a donation of your choice. Hare Krishna.
Yes, if you'd like. Thank you for coming. How many here are not familiar with Bhagavad Gita? Is it new to anybody here? Okay, great. So we're all acquainted. This is somewhat new to you? Okay. Well, I hope this will be of value to you. Might be some new information. For those, the majority here who are familiar with the Gita, I'd like to just take a few moments and introduce the author of the Bhagavad Gita as it is, a book that brought change to my life and so many others, His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada brought this manuscript, or brought this book to the West in 1970. It was published, I believe. So there had been before that 700 or 800 editions of Bhagavad Gita in English, but none of them had ever produced a single devotee of Krishna. It was just something to study academically at arm's length. But this book, the Bhagavad Gita as it is, touched so many hearts all over the world, in North America, in Europe, in Africa, and Asia, China, as well as India, where now millions and millions of people practice bhakti yoga as taught in the Bhagavad Gita and presented as it is by Srila Prabhupada. So this edition is very, very well known. But before he published the Bhagavad Gita as it is, Srila Prabhupada had published a version of Bhagavad Gita called the Gitar Gan. In 1962, he was living alone in India, in Vrindavan. He was a poor sadhu, just working on translation of the epic Srimad Bhagavatam, which has 18,000 verses. That was his life's work. And although it was such a big project, somehow, while he was doing this big Bhagavatam, he managed to carve out some time to put the much shorter Bhagavad Gita into Bengali poetry. The Gita, of course, is only 700 verses long, and he did it in Bengali in a serial fashion in one of his godbrother's newspapers, a Bengali newspaper. So later, when he came west and he established the Hare Krishna movement and began publishing books, he put this compilation of Bengali poetry into a little booklet, Gitar Gan in Bengali, and sold it in Bengal. Now, today it has sold millions of copies in West Bengal. It's considered the Bhagavad Gita in Bengali. And although it is very widely read there, and Bengali is the 6th most popular language in the world, nonetheless, it had never been translated in English before. So I enjoy writing poetry. I have a good friend, Swarup Krishna Prabhu in Calcutta, who is a good translator. So we teamed up to put this book in English. This is the first time it has been available to the English-speaking world. Now, the Bhagavad Gita as it is, for many of you, I'm sure, is a very dear book, as it is for me. It has touched our lives. I'm very familiar with the content. The Gitar Gan, we discovered Srila Prabhupada wove in commentary in his translation and made interesting little nuances on the presentation of the Gita that are not in the original text, but help the reader understand. So now I'd like to just show you a few contrasts from the Gita as it is, a very accurate, almost academic translation, and this Gitar Gan, which is more flowing and poetic. This, for example, is chapter 2, verse 6. Bujite parina bhala, kotaya garima hala, kona karya jujaya hamaya, kiva ami jaya kari, kimba ami nije mari, dui noka amare nachaya. Here are the two translations in English, just to give you an idea. Is this verse familiar from the Bhagavad Gita as it is? Chapter 2, verse 6. Should I kill them? Oh, I'm sorry. This is the Gita translation. Nor do we know which is better, conquering them or being conquered by them. If we killed the sons of Dhritarashtra, we would not care to live, yet they are now standing before us on the battlefield. But look what he says in the Gitar Gan on the left. Should I kill them or they kill me? I'm caught in a dichotomy, as if a man with feet on separate rafts. To kill my friends who will not run, or Dhritarashtra's hostile sons, assures us only sorrow unsurpassed. Do we find any reference to rafts? A man with feet on 2 rafts in the Gita? In the original? No, it's not there. But Prabhupada embellishes with this very sweet nuance as one way to further create the image in the mind of the reader. This is the job of the poet, to create images and impressions in the minds of the reader. Here is chapter 6, verse 5. Anasakta vishayate yata karma dridha sangsara se kupahate nija atmakada atma ke udarakara atmara ujita atma ke nahi kabunhara abasada atmai atmara bandhu atmayi se rupipu atmara shatru yehaya hiranyakashipu. Do you remember any reference to Hiranyakashipu in the Bhagavad Gita? Not in the Gita text, but here's what Prabhupada writes in his translation, or in his poetry rather. By working with detachment and resolve, one saves the soul from endless wells of worldliness where it has long been pulled. A friendship with the mind makes this much easier to do, for otherwise the mind is like Hiranyakashipu. Here's from the Gita as it is, the same verse. One must deliver himself with the help of his mind and not degrade himself. The mind is the friend of the conditioned soul and his enemy as well. So here again, this vivid reference to Hiranyakashipu. We don't find that in the Gita, but the poet has used it, Srila Prabhupada has used it to create this vivid image. Does anyone ever feel their mind is like Hiranyakashipu? A few of us will confess. Okay. Here's one last example from the end of the Bhagavad Gita. This is chapter 18, verse 78, the last verse, which I'm sure many of you are familiar with. Yata Yogeshwara Krishna Partha Dhanurdhara Tata Shri Vijayo Bhuti Dhruva Nirantara Yei Nama Sei Krishna Nahi Se Antara Shudha Nama Yara Hoya Sei Dhanurdhara. So this reads as follows in the poetic translation. Wherever there is Krishna, the supremely mystic soul, and anywhere Arjuna wields his arrows and his bow, great power, wealth, and triumph come, and learned souls proclaim there is no real distinction between Krishna and his name. In the Bhagavad Gita as it is, wherever there is Krishna, the master of all mystics, and wherever there is Arjuna, the supreme archer, there will certainly be opulence, victory, and extraordinary power and morality. That is my opinion. Do we see any reference to the holy name? No, there's no reference at all in the original Gita, but especially in this last verse, Srila Prabhupada is presenting this all-important last thing to remember for the reader, that everything is found in Krishna's holy name. So these are three examples of how the Gitar Gan differs from the Bhagavad Gita as it is by incorporating commentaries in the course of the book. So we translated this just to make these nuances available for connoisseurs of Bhagavad Gita. So that's a little of the background of the book. Now, I wanted to ask if anyone would like to suggest a favorite section of the Gita, passage, a chapter, anything that you particularly like in the Gita, and perhaps we can read something from this edition. Yes, Ruth? That's at chapter 12. Chapter 12, okay. Please turn, if you would, to chapter 12 here. Let's see, what page is that? 120, 121, okay. Arjuna said, "O Krishna, I have another question. Kindly now respond. Should one seek pure devotion, or should one pursue Brahman? To worship the unmanifest transcends mundane desires. Is proper service in devotion definitely higher?" Lord Krishna replied, "A faithful servant fixed upon my personal appearance is surely better off than unmanifest adherents. Their hearts, indeed, their very lives engaged in pleasing me, devotees are the topmost yogis. That is guaranteed. Yet those who choose to worship the unmanifest Brahman, the state that is immovable, unchanging, and beyond all common understanding, can achieve self-mastery. They're equally disposed to all and slowly come to me. The only difference in these paths is ease of execution. Devotees progress easily, while mystics face confusion. Pursuing the unmanifest while dealing with the body creates a slew of troubles for the seeker of samadhi. Devotees render service as they meditate on me. They dedicate their life and heart in each activity. Released from speculation and from craving the mundane, they quickly are delivered from this world of death and pain. So therefore fix your mind on my two-handed form as the essential form of Godhead in full personality. Stay linked with my eternal form, and love of God will bloom. Advancement in one's life, that is the greatest of all boons. But if you cannot simply fix your consciousness on me, then offer service in devotion systematically. Regardless if it's born of love or yogic regulation, such service quickly brings one into my association. And if you cannot render service so straightforwardly, convert your normal work into an offering for me. To labor for me in this way invokes my satisfaction and draws you to me due to ever-ripening attraction. If you're too weak to work for me and care not for devotion, there yet remains another path to spiritual promotion. Instead of simply working in a selfish way, begin to do some work for others and be satisfied within. To summarize, to serve in pure ecstatic love is best. If that's too much, by practicing devotion, you'll progress. If that's too much, then study, as the learned souls suggest. If that's too much, to meditate within yourself is next. If that's too much, some action linked to God is still success, for lusty, selfish actions never bring you happiness. In summary, for peace of mind, renounce all selfishness. My pure devotees always manifest good qualities. They're kind to everybody else and have no jealousy. Non-envious and seeing soul ahead of the mundane, devotees can compassionately fathom others' pain. Devotees know that everything belongs to the Supreme. Devotees do without the common egoistic dreams. Devotees are self-satisfied and resolute to serve, engaged in pleasing me, their equanimity preserved. By offering their mind, their life, their intellect to me, these dear beloved servants stay perpetually free. They never coerce others into some adversity. They never bring to others mental pain or misery. By always keeping balance through both happiness and grief, my dear beloved servitors are always linked with me. Continually balanced, unaffected and carefree, remaining independent of mundane society, proficient, pure, and wise in day-to-day activities, a soul becomes a Vaishnava, forever dear to me. By neither celebrating nor lamenting mundane things, by neither giving in to greed or needless worrying, renouncing the auspicious and the inauspicious too, devotees garner my respect and love in all they do. Again, please hear as I describe my faithful devotee, who sees others as spirit, not as friend or enemy, impartial and adjusted both in fame and infamy, untouched by heat and cold or happiness or misery, consistent in self-knowledge, shunning harmful company, content with very simple things in quiet harmony, detached from any dwelling, my determined devotee forever renders service and is very dear to me. The spotless souls who practice pure devotion in this way, connecting with me properly, their hearts imbued with faith, will savor nectar free of gross material dismay. To me, these precious souls and I are very much the same. Bhakti Vedanta Swami thus recites Sri Gitar Gan to please the pure devotees always wrapped in Krishna's song. Yeah. So, any reflections or thoughts about this chapter we just read? Any discussion? Yes, Kunti? Please.
And they talk a lot about being unaffected by this and that, being self-satisfied, not looking for validation, all of these things. But myself included, and probably a lot of other people, tend to look for validation from people, from things, from so many things. That's because we identify with false ego, and so we find our validation there. But even though we know we are the soul, how do we practically have this feeling that we can be self-satisfied and we don't have to be affected by others?
Mm-hmm. The part we read earlier about how if we don't have these pure, spontaneous properties of a devotee and attraction to Krishna, then practice the rules and regulations of Bhakti Yoga, right? This was earlier in the chapter. So if we don't, the value of this knowledge is to understand how we should react transcendentally, spiritually. And even if we don't feel it, we can benefit by acting in that way consciously. For example, if somebody says something that upsets us, then the feelings that we have, the anger, the desire to lash out, to defend ourselves, these are very primal, lower feelings. We have them, and then we have two choices. We can indulge in them or we can hold them. So understanding that a devotee would not react angrily, unnecessarily, then we can refrain from expressing that anger. Now, we're not talking about repression. We're talking about intelligence. Because we know if we react in anger, what's going to happen? Then we create more enmity, then we have to apologize, then we feel rotten, right? Anger pollutes us. So, for example, when we get angry, instead of expressing it, it's so much better to just say, let me think about this. I'll think about it and get back to you. I'll think about this nasty, stupid thing you just said, and I'll get back to you. You see, giving ourselves some time, borrowing some time, allows us to process these feelings without doing something based on them. And this is the quality of a devotee. At least we can understand in theory what we ought to do, even if we don't feel it. And this way we avoid all kinds of negative ramifications from indulging in anger, for example. Does that make sense?
Thank you, yes.
Yeah, okay. Fake it until you make it. Any other reflections? And of course, Bhakti Marg Maharaj, anytime you have anything to add, please just feel free.
I was just interested to I think the most compelling segment of the Bhagavad Gita is chapter 11, universal form, and the imagery is very strong. And yeah, I don't know if we have time to reflect on that.
If we have time to read, yeah, we could read that certainly if you like. There's time. Before we go to that, is there anything else from chapter 12 that we just read that you might like to discuss or ask about? Okay, yes, Prabhu?
I was just confused with this aspect where we told to master the Brahman, or we refer to Krishna in this case, right? So if Krishna is, beyond our senses, beyond our understanding, how do we master him? What are the ways and means of mastering him if he is above everything?
Right. If Krishna is beyond our senses, how can we master understanding Krishna?
Yeah.
Yes. Because Krishna is very compassionate, he discloses, he reveals himself in ways that are perceivable to our senses. For example, the deities. Now, some people might consider it idolatry. We're making up some form of God and worshiping. But the form of Krishna is described thoroughly in many sacred texts. Angani yasya sakalendri vritti manti, pasyanti panti kalayanti charam jaganti. Everything is described. And so Krishna's form in the deity is the authorized form of Krishna. Yet we can see the deity, we can dress the deity, we can bathe the deity, we can interact with the deity, even with these impure senses. In this way, the senses become purified. Or take food, for example. We can just prepare something and eat it, or we can prepare something vegetarian, something nice, and offer it to Krishna. So that's very tangibly engaging our senses, isn't it? And then once it's offered to Krishna, that food has become spiritualized, Krishnaized. And taking it is service to Krishna. So Krishna kindly reveals himself in ways we can experience with our senses, even these mundane senses. Okay. Anything else? Other thoughts on, yes? Back here? Very good question. So.
Dandavat Pranam Maharaj. I just have a question. This verse 10, they talk about convert your normal work into an offering for me. So how do you do like your everyday job? We go to work in an office, and how do you make that for Krishna?
Yes, this is the question that often comes up because they seem so disconnected. Right, to read about Krishna or chant Krishna's name and then to go into this worldly environment. We have to remember that the whole premise of Bhagavad Gita, Krishna is getting Arjuna to fight, to do his job. In the beginning of the Gita, Arjuna doesn't want to do it. It's not worth it to him. But by the end of the Gita, he's very fired up to do it. And what has he learned in between? How to do it for Krishna. I thought I was going to be fighting for the sake of my family and the kingdom, but now I understand I'm fighting because it's Krishna's desire. Why is it Krishna's desire to have such a massive war? Well, his purpose in appearing was to relieve the burden of the earth from the excess military buildup. And the Kurukshetra war was a great way to do that. So he wanted Arjuna's help. He wanted Arjuna to do this for him. How about, though, if we're doing our work in IT or in the office or whatever, how do we offer that to Krishna? The first way to offer to Krishna is to offer some of the fruits of the work to Krishna, to make some contribution, to give of ourselves if possible, and if not, to give some money. That helps spiritualize the activity that we're doing. It gives us a sense of, I am working for Krishna's service. That's the most immediate and tangible way. Beyond that, we consider what is our purpose in work. We're maintaining a household. So we can turn our house into a temple. We can have deities, we can cook prasadam, we can do things in our home that make it spiritual. And thus maintaining the home also becomes spiritual. As we go a little further in our spiritual understanding, we recognize this reality that the home doesn't belong to us. It is actually Krishna that is providing everything. Our home, our money, the oxygen we breathe, the food that we eat, everything is coming from Krishna. So it's Krishna's house, it's Krishna's job, it's Krishna's property, it's Krishna's body that we're occupying. He's given us the bodies that we have. So therefore, our position is just to take care of Krishna's property. Thinking in this way, our job can also become part of our service to Krishna. I'm earning money to maintain Krishna's household, and this is my offering to him. See, in the 9th chapter, Krishna says, Yat karosi, yat asnasi, yat jahosi, dadasi, yat tapasyasi konteya. Whatever you do, whatever you eat, whatever austerities you perform, whatever charity you give, do as an offering to me. And by this principle of renunciation, you will come to me. We don't have to quit our job or leave our home. We just have to learn this art of doing it for Krishna through bhakti yoga. Is that all right? Okay, I hope that's helpful. Okay, with that, let's go and read chapter 11. Thank you, Mara. A very good suggestion. This is a very colorful and poetic chapter. And as we're reading, I hope you'll notice how Arjuna goes through so many emotional ups and downs in the course of this. Prior to chapter 11, Arjuna has finally been convinced that Krishna is God. Before that, he was skeptical. He was saying, you spoke this to the sun god Vivaswan, but he's so much older than you. He said, you want me to do yoga? I can't possibly do that. He's very skeptical in different ways. But now in chapter 10, he says, yes, Param Brahma, Param Dhamma. You are the supreme Brahman. You are everything. And all these great sages have said it. Now you're saying it. He's convinced. Then he's so convinced that he asks Krishna a very almost intrusive question at the beginning here of chapter 11. So that's page 106. Arjuna said, on hearing these profound instructions given by your grace, illusion is undone, with only truth left in its place. This spiritual and confidential truth has now dismissed the many doubts and questions that have plagued my consciousness. I now have heard from you details of two eternal truths, both how creation happens and of how it all concludes. Creation is extensive, yet your endless forms comprise the best of it, Supreme Controller, Lord of Lotus Eyes. O greatest of all persons, if you think me qualified, I now would like to see and know you from another side. O Master of all mystics, if you think my eyes of worth, reveal to me your endless form that spans the universe. Lord Krishna said, O son of Pritha, just behold this overwhelming swarm of hundreds and then thousands of divine transcendent forms. Just see the great variety of multicolored shades adorning my expansions in this mystical display. Behold the Vasus, Rudras, Ashwani Kumars, and more. Behold the wondrous, awesome gods as none have seen before. Now everything existing is before you to survey, both moving and non-moving, transcendental and mundane. O conqueror of sleep, as Krishna, I am absolute. Observe my glories carefully. There is no higher truth. You are my pure devotee, and yet still you cannot see my full, immense, gigantic form of cosmic majesty. So now the gift of eyes divine on you I shall bestow, so that you can experience directly all I show. Sanjaya, the narrator, says, now hear, King Dhritarashtra, what Arjuna then could see when Lord Krishna displayed his hidden, vast reality. Arjuna witnessed countless eyes that flashed like lightning strikes in countless bodies bearing gems of rare celestial types. He saw celestial weapons, too, and garlands of fine taste adorning every form along with scents and sandal paste. If one could see 1,000,000 suns arising at one time, one might attain an inkling of the vast, unending shine the universal form displayed upon appearing there. For otherwise, what evidence, what brilliance could compare? And then Arjuna saw the endless portions of creation contained in Krishna's body, each in proper situation, divided one by one, and yet conjoined exactly right, each one shone brightly with a natural, effulgent light. Bewildered and amazed, Arjuna, hair standing on end, then bowed his head and joined his palms to venerate his friend. Before this godly gathering, his safety a concern, Arjuna felt unsettled and began to pray in turn. Within your body, opulences visible before my senses far exceed what speaking can express. I now perceive all living beings, moving and non-moving things, gigantic in their range and yet compressed. I see the gods of awesome power, Brahma and his lotus flower, sacred serpents rising all about. Lord Shiva, saints, detached and smart, the super soul in every heart, Supreme Controller, no one is left out. Within your body I can see so many arms, so many teeth, so many eyes and bellies without end. And now I see from where I stand how everywhere your form expands. Almighty Lord, how can I comprehend? Bedecked with crowns of perfect fit and weapons, clubs, and razor discs, your brilliant shine obliterates all gloom. So radiant that dazzling scene, it makes your form as hard to see as staring at the fiery sun at noon. To seek the truth indeed entails to know you, for you never fail. You are the final shelter of us all. O basis of all piety, or foremost personality, you're limitless and inexhaustible. You never start, you never end. Your unrestricted strength extends through mighty arms with sun and moon as eyes. Your mouth amid such burning flames, the universe is now ablaze. Your brilliant radiance pervades the skies. Your form expands in every way, engulfing earth and outer space and all within, without, or in between. The lower, mid, and upper worlds are fearful, awestruck, and disturbed, beholding this great sight they've never seen. The demigods and endless hosts, afraid of you as they come close, submit to you and pray with folded palms. The sages, saints, and perfect souls, well reconciled to your control, all pray for peace by singing Vedic psalms. Lord Shiva in his many phases, Vasus, Maruts, Vishvadevas, Ashwini Kumars, and other gods, the forefathers from Pitriloka, Gandharvas from Siddhaloka, all arrive to watch you in great awe. O mighty armed Lord Krishna, these respected personalities become disturbed as you have now appeared. Your giant form has countless eyes and mouths and bellies, legs and thighs. Your huge, horrific teeth invoke their fear. I see your omnipresent eyes, your countless heads that touch the sky and hang like streams of blazing, brilliant fire. To see their multicolored hues has stunned me and left me so confused, I've lost the steady mind I so require. To see your teeth appear like those of death itself and fiery rows within your blazing mouth leaves me adrift. I do not know what's good for me, O foremost personality. Please save me from this great apocalypse. Now Dhritarashtra's sons, their friends like Bhishma, Drona, Karna, and the many other soldiers, friend and foe, I see between your awful teeth, entrapped above and underneath, their bodies smashed and slaughtered row by row. Enmeshed in your teeth, every one is smashed into oblivion, inciting visions deep within my mind of rivers flowing to an ocean endless and in constant motion, seawater and river now combined. These powerful, commanding humans rushing towards their executions in your mouths of all-devouring fire remind me of a moth who freely flies into a flame, completely entering at will its funeral pyre. Oh, Vishnu, how your mouths are lethal, all-consuming, burning people, turning all their lives to history. It now is clear, no one escapes your devastating, scorching rays that fill the universe with misery. Be merciful, Almighty Lord. Who are you in this awful form? I bow to you, O Master. Tell me more. What is the reason you assume this wondrous form of cosmic doom no one has ever seen or known before? Please tell me why this form exists. Please tell me what your mission is. Please tell me why you've come here. I implore. Lord Krishna said, Time I am, the vast assault, the great devouring death of all. By my will, every planet is destroyed. As Supersoul who lives within, I bring all creatures to an end. I am the force of death no one avoids. Thus, every warrior gathered here is guaranteed to disappear no matter how or where they are deployed. So therefore fight and win your fame. This kingdom is now yours to gain in joyous battle. Kill your enemies. I say they are already dead. Before you even turn your head, you're just an instrument in what's to be. You see that Bhishma, Jayadratha, with Drona, Karna, and the lot of heroes here have already been killed. So what need have you to lament, regardless of your sentiment? They all have been extinguished by my will. Sanjaya said, on hearing these divine commands, Arjuna stood with folded hands, then prostrated again and yet again. Now hear, my king, what he said next, his body shaking, mind perplexed with fear and veneration for his friend. Arjuna said, for those who simply grow aware that you are present everywhere with vast unending majesty and grace, the world itself becomes sublime. They madly seek you all the time, O master of the senses, Rishikesh. You're thought of so respectfully and served in all activities by saintly souls of absolute perfection. However, those of evil minds, the demons, wickedly inclined, run off from you in every direction. O Krishna, why do they not seek the shelter of your lotus feet when clearly you're the greatest of the great? Brahma himself, the first of beings, yet serves you as King of Kings, the Master who initially creates. Your fame and glories reign supreme, O endless God of everything, O God of gods, the refuge of all souls. You are the cause of every cause, the peerless source of space and stars above this world and never known in full. For you are the original, beyond the mere transitional, O foremost personality of God. If someone could compile a list of all the matter that exists, he'd find you are behind the whole facade. You know all things that can be known. Our shelter is in you alone. You're endless, with no limit to be found. You penetrate and then pervade this universe that you have made. By your unyielding laws are we all bound. You supervise the moon, the air, the flame, the water everywhere. You are the very center of each soul. You are Brahma, he who creates the countless species, countless races. Such is your unrivaled cosmic role. No other option waits for me than bowing to your lotus feet 1,000 times and then 1,000 more. I offer you respects and then I offer them again. Please place your glance upon me, my dear Lord. I bow before your lotus feet from front and back and in between, O super soul of boundless energy. Without you, everything just seems a mere illusion, just a dream, for you are natural reality. As friend to friend, I'd frequently address you so sarcastically as Krishna of the famous Yadu clan. So blind to your true majesty, how could I think so casually and treat you as an ordinary man? I joked with you and spoke with you with disrespectful attitude. I roamed with you, my mind in reverie. Alone or not, I didn't mind to rest with you as you reclined. Forgive my insolent audacity. The whole creation comes from you, the moving and non-moving too, our revered Guru, Father, all-empowered. Nobody else can interfere or merge with you or be your peer, for you possess immeasurable power. Repeatedly I fall before your lotus feet, my sovereign Lord, the revered deity of everyone. I beg your mercy, otherwise there's no escape from my demise. Forgive me as a father would a son. As friends forgive a friend's transgressions, lovers pardon indiscretions, please excuse my culpability. O Lord of universal scope, be gracious now. I simply hope that somehow you'll be satisfied with me. Please show again your four-armed form as Vishnu that I've known before with lotus flower, conch shell, mace, and wheel. From four-armed Vishnu has emerged this form that fills the universe, this thousand-armed expansion you've revealed. Lord Krishna said, Arjuna, as you now have asked, my cosmic form has been unmasked, this wondrous universal form of mine. And by my mystic potency, you've seen what no one else could see, creation as it manifests in time. Before you, none have seen this side of universal glaring light that my primeval cosmic form divests. No person can obtain this sight by Vedic study, sacrifice, austerity, or charity, or quest. O best among the Kuru clan, you've witnessed what no other can, wherever these three worlds are manifest. You have become so troubled by this gaslit cosmic form of mine, just seeing it, you're mesmerized and burned. So let this form now disappear, and once again you'll have no fear. Be peaceful as my endless form returns. Sanjaya said, Lord Krishna, having spoken to Arjuna in this calming mood, again displayed his four-armed Vishnu form. Though it was wonderful and sweet, so transcendentally complete, Lord Krishna nonetheless again transformed. Arjuna at this time was shown Lord Krishna's form, his very own exquisite and eternal two-armed form. On seeing this familiar sight, Arjuna felt his heart grow light. Encouraged, he began to speak once more. Arjuna said, as you are now appearing as a normal human man, you're showing me, Janardana, a form I understand. Now, once again, my mind assumes a natural repose, and I am feeling steady, calm, and so much more composed. Lord Krishna said, In fact, my own two-handed form is difficult to see. Remember as you refocus, standing next to me, that Lord Brahma, Lord Shiva, and the gods can rarely find what my devotees understand with pure and loving minds. My own two-handed form is seen with transcendental eyes, and not through faithful Vedic study favored by the wise. The paths of Vedic mantras, penances, and charity will all prove insufficient means for those in search of me. Unmixed devotion, nothing else will make one qualified to enter the supreme abode, that place where I reside. And only my devoted servants enter and perceive my everlasting pastimes in their true reality. The best among all dharmas is to undertake to serve and link with me as my devoted, loving servitor. Devotees have no enemies and purely understand that they are dear to me. For them, I'm always close at hand. Bhakti Vedanta Swami thus recites Sri Gitar Gan to please the pure devotees always wrapped in Krishna's song. Hare Krishna. So you see how Arjuna's emotions went through so many changes there? First, he's so confident, he's asking Krishna, please show me this form of yours that pervades the universe. And then he's awestruck. And then he sees everybody dying, because that's part of God's creation also. The universal form creates and it consumes. And when he sees that, he becomes very frightened. And then he becomes very contrite. Oh, I've treated you so familiarly. What a fool I am. Please forgive me. But Krishna doesn't like that. He doesn't like his devotees to be in this mood of awe and reverence and fear and veneration. He likes his devotees to be his friends. He likes his devotees to be his family members, his lovers, his servants. He likes devotees to be in all these different relationships, and he's not hung up on just being given awe and reverence. It's the least favorite of God's relationships. And yet, in my Judeo-Christian upbringing, that was all we learned about God, that he, just be afraid of God, just be respectful of God. I learned how to fear God, and if I feared God, I could love the things of this world. All right, no problem. But in Krishna consciousness, from Bhagavad Gita, I've learned the goal is to love God and fear the things of the world. So any reflections, any thoughts about this chapter? Yes, Prabhu?
I just had one reflection in this chapter. This is verse where Krishna is compared to the wondrous form of cosmic doom. It's really beautiful how Krishna can be everything beautiful, and is also compared to cosmic doom. I mean, I don't understand why is that so.
Right. Krishna's front side is the beauty of the cosmic manifestation. His back side is the suffering of material cosmic manifestation. The purpose of the whole creation is to remind us that this is not our home. So if all we see is the beauty and we don't see the misery, then why would we want to leave? Right? So this is the purpose of Maya, this is the purpose of the material world, to help us return to Krishna, to help us redirect our attention to him. Yeah. Right. Okay, thank you. Yes, any other thoughts? Yes, sir.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. So these days I think there's a lot of news going on about going to the space, and here Krishna is showing the universal form. So what is your opinion and what are your thoughts? Can man reach Mars or moon, or have they already reached?
Right. Can man reach Mars or the moon, this cosmic creation? Well, of course, our esteemed human race allegedly went to the moon in the 1960s, and this was brought up to Srila Prabhupada. He was skeptical, and he said, even if they went there, what did they find? They found rocks, and they came back to Earth and they analyzed, and they found, oh, these rocks are the same as rocks on Earth. So what was the purpose? And when they went, they could not stay. They had to have all kinds of complex arrangements for maintaining their oxygen and their water and so forth. So what is the value of it? This is the point. Srila Prabhupada wrote a book called Easy Journey to Other Planets. in which he explains the yogic process of being able to transfer from one planet to another, not by material but by mystical means. This is explained in the Vedic literature. But the essential point is that every planet is designed for the bodies of the inhabitants of that planet to fulfill their particular natures and desires. So our conception is very limited to this earth and water body and form of life that we are familiar with. Yet even on this planet, very extreme situations, by our calculation, there's still life present. In the thermal volcanoes in the ocean, they find bacteria in the coldest regions of the Arctic. So life is everywhere, and it adapts according, it is presented according to its desires. So therefore we can understand that life pervades all of these different planets. But in the Gita, Krishna says, Abrahmana bhuvana loka kim punarvartina arjuna. Even if you go to the highest planet of Lord Brahma, there's still birth and death. So what is the point? What value is there in going here or there? Will we escape death by going to Mars? I don't think so. Yeah. So the point of the whole point of the universe is to get out. That's what makes it worthwhile. Is that okay? Thank you. Yes?
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
I have just one question. Technically, there are 5 rasas, or 4, correct me if I'm wrong.
5.
So, 5, thank you. So, in Arjuna saw Krishna as a friend, and we all reciprocate the way we want to, what is the best way to actually come to Krishna as a parental friend. So, my question is, when Krishna saw, showed Arjuna the universal form, what do you think, it is the way that we approach Krishna in the 5 rasas in the material world, or when, if we are liberated, just in case, we all are servant of the Lord. So do we reciprocate Krishna in the same form after this material life, or are we going to be the servant and we will be in the same form, or I don't know, I'm framing this question right or not, because Mother Yashoda was in proper Vatsalya form. Nevertheless, Krishna showed immense, proved everything to show that he was a god. At the same time, Devaki, she know that the God, he's my son, but at the same time he's God. But there is a difference. There is a Vatsalya and there's this Ashwashalya as well, right? The whole form. So how to not contradict between that and how to reciprocate? Because I know that Krishna is my friend. Okay, I can approach him. But at the same time, he's our God and we have to serve him. So what, not to have this kind of a duality, at the same time we are serving him as well. What not hinders our services at the same time?
Thank you. Very good question and very practical. So there are 5 relationships with God, 5 primary relationships with Krishna defined in the Vedic scriptures. The first is Shantarasa, or awe and reverence. The second is Dasyaras, or service. The third is Sakyaras, or friendship. The fourth is Vatsalyaras, or parental relationship. And the fifth is Madhuryaras, or conjugal relationship. So these 5 are progressive. Okay? Awe and veneration. Shantaras, that's any theist has veneration for God. Then the next is servitorship. So beyond just venerating God, we enter into relationship through service, which Prabhupada describes as the most congenial form of intimacy. This is, again, from my Judeo-Christian upbringing, this is where Krishna consciousness takes a step further. What does it mean to serve God? See, like we were talking about the deity. You can serve the deity. You can serve the devotees. You can serve by just hearing or reading. So many ways to serve. As opposed to just thinking, well, service to God means helping the poor. No, there's much more than that. But anyway, service begins an exchange. And then in the course of that service, one can become a friend. Now, a friend can have veneration for a friend can serve a friend, but a friend also feels like a peer, or a compatible, comparable personality with a friend. And that's intimacy that Krishna desires. He wants to have friends. He's not a loser, he's not, sitting alone in the lunch cafeteria. He has friends, but he doesn't give his friendship to just anybody. He reserves that for those who are very focused on knowing him. And for those people, they can be covered in their perception of Krishna to consider him a friend. Excuse me, like Arjuna. In this chapter, he's lamenting, whoa, I was thinking of you as just a common person, but now I see how majestic you are. But then we see that Krishna did not like that. He didn't maintain that. He said, okay, here I am again in a familiar form, relax. You know, this is more intimate, and Krishna prefers that. Even more intimate is the relationship of parental ras, parental relationship. Now, a parent can venerate the child, certainly serves the child, befriends the child, but also sometimes tells the child what to do. So this is even more exclusive. Krishna's not just going to let anybody tell him what to do. See? So he only allows very special devotees like Mother Yashoda to be in this position of authority and command over him. Finally, there is the conjugal rasa, which between the lover and the beloved, there is awe and reverence, there's service, there's friendship, there's command, but there's also the intimacy of conjugal exchange that only is reserved for the most intimate devotees. And this is why the gopis are considered the highest of all Krishna's devotees, even higher than his wives, who were married to him. But the gopis were married to other people, but they went to be with Krishna. See, so this is how these relationships grow. And you're asking, what is my relationship? You have to go there and find out for yourself. You know? Yeah, and it's really not important, provided we have veneration for Krishna and we render service to Krishna. These things we can experience. We can also experience how Krishna is our friend. As the years go by in Krishna consciousness, we feel more and more, okay, Krishna's my friend. He's putting me through this. He's putting me through that, but it's not going to kill me. You know, he's my friend. And he's pushing my buttons. He's got his reasons. I don't know what they are, but anyway, I trust him. He's my friend. So we can feel like this in this material world. Beyond that, we have to be a little cautious. Maybe we can feel a little parental care if we have deities of Krishna. Okay, well, my Krishna needs to eat. He's so hungry. Like that. So I hope that answers your question. All right. Our eternal relation with Krishna will only really be revealed when we are either very advanced in Krishna consciousness or we leave this world and go back to Godhead. Hare Krishna. Thank you. Anything else? All right. Well, thank you very much for being with us tonight. Hope you enjoyed this.
Thank you so much, Kalakantha Prabhu, for writing this book for all of us to make it better and easy. We have these kind of seminars every Saturday. We have great speakers like Kalakantha Prabhu to speak on different topics, and the timing is the same, 6:30 to 7:30 p.m. You can get your book signed by Kalakantha Prabhu. You won't get this great opportunity again because he comes just once or twice in a year. Also, thank you so much for coming. At 7:30, you can. We have Govinda's restaurant. You can go and have prasadam and then come back for 8 p.m. Aarti here. I said. And also we have a little piggy here. If you want to donate anything from your heart, you're most welcome. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Thank you.
Please come and get the books signed.
Haribol. And the plagiarist, I'm taking Krishna's book here. Thank you. Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.